Hey everyone, it's Jessica, doing more voice practice. Um, I figured today what I would do is go through some tweets, explain my reasoning on them, because not only is it reading, so it's comprehension there, and then it's also dual processing because I actually have to think about the things I'm saying. I'll also try to report after each part where roughly the voice analysis app shows me at, because I'm recording from this, and I'm using my Yeti for you guys. So, all right, let's see what happens. I know my voice still is a work in progress. So, all right, so let's look at some fun tweets because Twitter was a shit show today. Let's see. I yelled at a lot of turfs. Let's see. So, here's one I had for the hashtag Biden erased women. I am a professional counselor and also a trans woman. I have been practicing counseling for around 3 years and started transitioning over the last year. Every respectable medical and mental health organization, such as the APA, both of them, and the WHO, says that we are who we say we are. Now, what I didn't mention here entirely is that that's not just those three, it's a lot of them, and this is not even just true in medicine. Biology says this as well. I linked an article in my second tweet to a Scientific American blog, Stop Using Phony Science to Justify Transphobia. I know that some people have had issues with that article. I still think it's a really good argument. I wouldn't mind people sending me something that's a little more, more in depth. Although, let me be very clear, biology is not my super strong point. So, the follow-up to this was, TERFs will argue that they speak from science and that Biden erased women. He did not, and they do not. He is protecting trans people from discrimination, and their understanding of biology, is incomplete. We are who we say we are. Here's the thing. If your entire idea of biology is there's X and XY, you are a fucking idiot. I don't mean to be rude, but again, the idea that biology is that simple not only ignores intersex people, it also ignores the people we see who actively defy these ideas or in some ways exist somewhere into a spectrum in and of themselves. Again, there was that story of a trans girl who got a genetics test for I forget what reason, and it turned out that despite being entirely male presenting on the outside before she transitioned, lo and behold, XX chromosomes. Again, this is why this stuff is really complicated. XX and XY don't denote everything. It's sort of like saying that, like, only the cello section matters in a symphony. Biology is way more complicated than that, as far as I can gather. And not even that, people way smarter than me have actually figured this shit out a while ago. Like, this is decided science. Like, trans research has been going on for 20 plus years. And we've survived fucking Blanchard, so, yeah, get fucked, TERFs. Moving on. A lot of these were me just being a shitposter. I'm sorry, I get really tired of these people. Hashtag Biden erased women. TERFs love to play victims and project trans people as the cause, while politically victimizing trans girls and medically gaslighting trans boys. So, of course, I posted the meme, here, bitch, take this, since you want to project. You can look at it on my Twitter. The reason why I like this tweet, well, one, because I wrote it, but also because this is kind of their playbook, right? Like, I'm not wrong here. What they do is essentially attack trans women who are vulnerable as fuck, and then they attack trans men in an entirely different way, either completely misgendering them as lost lesbian sisters. I know we all heard that fucking meme. But not only that, they essentially try to tell trans boys, like fucking kids, they're not who they say they are. That's incredibly invalidating. As a person that works with teens, no offense, this shit is gross. The idea that a child isn't who they say they are, or they shouldn't get what are really life-saving medical interventions, is fucking stupid. I know TERFs like to pretend the suicide rate is not as bad as they think, as bad as it is, and blah, blah, blah. They think this is all hype and TRAs, and they're idiots. This hurts people. Like, this actively fucking hurts people. The shit that happened in the UK recently is gross as fuck. Like, I don't know what you do with TERF Island at this point because, yeah, it's a fucking shit show. The next meme, and by the way, I will eventually learn how to put things on the camera. I'm trying to learn Streamlabs OBS, partially for a project for work so I can explain how to do our paperwork over online, and also because I want to start streaming. I don't think I'll ever be as popular as, say, like Xander Hall, Vosh, that kind of stuff, but I do think I have perspectives, and I am a professional therapist, and I don't know. I just feel like my variation of transness isn't really, like, spoken about. A lot of the therapy stuff online about trans people tends to be cis people reaching out. And while I definitely could do a harder look, I've tried to find as many trans YouTubers as possible. I just haven't found anybody that really speaks in that same way. Vosh comes close, but his discipline is sociology, not counseling or psychology. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. As a note, just to kind of guess, right now my voice is doing this weird oscillating thing. As far as like where I am in hertz, right? Again, anything above 200 is in the feminine. Anything above 160 is in the gender ambiguous. So I have my settings set up at that 160 and 300 of the lines. And I'm not so much worried about the top end. I'm more worried about the middle. I still have a tendency, especially with a lot of those like non-word sounds, like that kind of stuff. Those tend to drop back into like below 160. I'm not a big fan of that. The reason why I'm doing these videos partially is just to kind of share what my voice work is, but also like to give people maybe an idea that like seeking out like a voice pathologist or a voice therapist is really fucking worth it. And in some ways more, I think, effective than surgery. At least my experiences with the surgery. A lot of the voice surgeries, I haven't seen a ton of ones that I would describe as successful. They don't sound right, and that's fine. If someone got one and it was totally successful, it gave them exactly what they want, fucking cool. But I think for me, it's voice practice. I want to get into this place that this is normally where I want to speak. Now, the good news is that even though I am dropping off occasionally, I'm still staying pretty much around 200, which means it's into gender ambiguous to feminine. And when I tend to get a little more animated, it tends to also go into, the 250s, which is pretty good. Let's move on. Dear gender critical feminists, you think #Biden erased women. But what he did was make women, parentheses, and boys and non-binary folks, safer. Get fucked. You're an embarrassment to the notion of liberating marginalized people. If there's one idea that I wish I could slap, is the idea that a marginalized person can't in and of themselves marginalize other people. This is my issue with tokens and their attempts to get, conservative cis backing. That's gross. And then on top of it, there is a way in which TERFs try to use their quote-unquote feminist status and status as women as a way to claim their victimization, and then they basically attack us as a means of sort of what looks to be retaliatory, like striking out against the evil patriarchy. But what it really just is beating up like 1 to 2% of the population. Like, depending on the statistic you look up, trans people are like 1%, and if we assume that there's people that are closeted, not to mention some of the statistics kind of bounce, it's like 2-ish? Something like that? So like, 2% of people are trans, 50% of the people in the world are fucking, like, born and assigned female. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yes, women have been marginalized. Yes, there is some shit that the world needs to deal with as far as its treatment of women. And there's a ton of horrible things in that bracket of things that need to be dealt with. But trans women isn't one of them. Trans men is not one of them. Non-binary folks isn't one of them. And the idea that, like, they want to throw us under the bus as evil men and lost lesbian sisters and not real NBs is fucking garbage. It's no different than Calvin Guerra fucking throwing non-binary people under the bus so his transition looks better. Or Blair White throwing every single trans person she can as far under that fucking school bus as she can to make her look like the perfect, good, conservative trans. I really hate this shit. By the way, the picture with this one is adorable. It is a weird bird. I don't know what type of bird. And it says, our expectations... I can't talk today. Our expectations for you were low, but holy fuck. Next on the shit show of attacking this stupid fucking hashtag is TERF's attempt at fear-mongering... I can't fucking talk today. TERF's attempts at fear-mongering are adorable. Let's show pics of people either early into transition, who were fucking criminals, or mentally ill. I don't know which is dumber, their complete abandon of leftist notions of rehabilitation, or the implicit ableism. Right? Like, they'll talk about a trans woman doing a whole bunch of awful shit, and of course it's always debatable whether they're actually talking about a trans woman or they're just lying. But the other thing is that, like, you can tell TERFs are a hate movement by the fact that they don't want people helped. They don't want people like Jessica Yaniv, put in fucking therapy and kept away from minors. They want to show her up as a way that all trans people are supposed to be this bitch. What? No, they're a hate movement. They want us fucking dead. As I've been saying online for the last several weeks, my issue with fucking tokens is always the same. They think that being a token will get cis favoritism, and that the conservatives and fascists they interact with, are going to spare them when the fucking sword comes down or the fucking guillotine comes down. That's not how this works. It only means that once they're done with the rest of us, then you get to be the last one in the fucking mass grave. This is what happened in Germany. This is what happened in There is no appeasing fascists. There is no appeasing transphobes. We need to fucking stop with this token bullshit.